Translate this, and my salary is yours, the director smirked, sliding a sheet of paper across the long conference table. Everyone in the room froze. The text was written in an obscure dialect few had ever seen. For weeks, the company had been struggling to close an international deal, and this translation was the final key. The director, known for his arrogance, believed no one in the room could handle it. His challenge was more mockery than opportunity. At the far end of the table sat Maya, a quiet junior assistant, barely noticed in meetings. She wasn't part of the negotiations, she was there to take notes. But her heart skipped when her eyes fell on the paper. She recognized the script instantly. It was the same dialect her grandmother had whispered to her at bedtime, the language of her childhood lullabies. The room buzzed with nervous laughter. Some executives shook their heads, already dismissing the possibility. Maya hesitated, torn between fear and duty. Then, slowly, she raised her hand. I can try, she said softly. The director arched a brow, amused. You? Very well. Go ahead. Let's see the miracle. As Maya began to translate aloud, silence fell. Each word rolled off her tongue with warmth and precision, not mechanical or forced, but alive. For the first time in weeks, the confusing document made sense. And though the director had thrown his challenge as a joke, everyone in that room was about to discover the truth. Maya's response would change everything. The room was silent, all eyes fixed on Maya as she read aloud. Her voice carried not just words, but rhythm, emotion, and context, things no machine could capture. She wasn't just translating, she was bringing the message to life. When she finished, a hush lingered before one executive whispered, that makes sense now. Another nodded quickly, scribbling notes. The foreign partners on the video call looked relieved, their stiff expressions softening into smiles. The director leaned back in his chair, lips pressed tight. He hadn't expected this. His challenge had been a mockery, yet this assistant had dismantled it with grace. Impressive, he muttered, but his tone lacked warmth. Later that day, Maya returned to her small cubicle. She expected the moment to pass quickly, swallowed by the usual rush of office work. But within hours, an email landed in her inbox. The foreign delegation had requested her specifically for the next meeting. Still, not everyone was pleased. Whispers spread. Some co-workers praised her quietly, while others sneered that she had embarrassed the director. The man himself avoided her gaze in the hallway, though his pride clearly smarted. That evening, as she packed her bag, a colleague approached. "Do you realize what you've done?" he asked. "You didn't just translate words, you saved the deal." Maya shook her head, humbled. To her, it wasn't heroism. It was simply honoring the gift her grandmother had passed down. But she had no idea that the true test, the one that would define not just her career, but her humanity, was still ahead. Because the next document she would be asked to translate, wasn't just business. It carried a plea for compassion. 2 days later, Maya was summoned to the boardroom again. This time, the foreign partners had sent over a sealed letter. The director, still carrying the sting of being outshined, slid it toward her with a stiff expression. "Do your magic," he muttered, though his voice carried more resentment than admiration. Maya unfolded the letter carefully. The words, written in that same old dialect, struck her heart differently this time. It wasn't corporate jargon, nor numbers or terms. It was a cry for help. Her lips trembled as she read silently, "We accept your deal, but we beg for fairness. Our workers are underpaid, our children suffer hunger, and our lands grow barren. Help us, not just with contracts, but with dignity." Maya looked up, her chest heavy. The executives around her waited, impatient for her translation. She realized she had a choice. She could give them the sanitized version, the one that secured profits, or reveal the raw truth hidden in those words. For a moment, fear clutched her. If she told the truth, she risked her job, her future. The director's eyes were already warning her not to make him look weak again. But then she remembered her grandmother's voice. Language carries more than meaning, it carries the soul of a people. Maya drew a breath. Her voice shook at first, then grew steady as she read the plea aloud, word for word. The room fell silent again. Executives exchanged uneasy glances. The director's jaw clenched, but the foreign partners on screen leaned forward, eyes wet with gratitude. In that moment, Maya knew she hadn't just translated words, she had translated humanity. And nothing in that boardroom would ever be the same again. The silence in the boardroom was heavy, almost unbearable. Some executives shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others avoided eye contact altogether. The director finally broke it, his voice sharp. "That is not what the letter says," he snapped. "You're twisting their words." Maya met his glare, her hands trembling but her gaze steady. "No," she said quietly. "This is exactly what it says. They're asking us not just for a deal, but for dignity." The foreign partners on screen nodded, confirming her words. One of them, an elderly man with kind eyes, spoke softly in English, "She is telling the truth." At last, someone listens. The room shifted. What had started as a business meeting now felt like something far greater. The executives looked at one another, realizing this was no longer about contracts, it was about lives. The director's pride flared, but even he couldn't dismiss the truth so openly confirmed. His smirk was gone, replaced by unease. "This isn't charity," he muttered. "We're here to make profit." Maya inhaled deeply, her voice stronger now. Profit means nothing if it costs people their humanity. If we ignore this plea, we're not just breaking trust, we're breaking ourselves. Her words pierced through the tension like light through a crack. One executive finally spoke up, "She's right. If we build fairness into this deal, we don't lose, we gain partners for life." Others murmured in agreement. For the first time, Maya wasn't just an assistant in the corner. She was the voice guiding the room. The foreign partners smiled with visible relief, their shoulders relaxing as hope flickered across their faces. In that moment, Maya realized her courage had done more than change a meeting, it had given people across the ocean a chance at dignity. The next morning, the office hummed with a different energy. News of Maya's translation and the bold choice to speak the truth had spread quietly but quickly. The director, once proud and smug, now walked past her desk with a subdued nod, a silent acknowledgement of her courage. The foreign partners had sent a formal message of thanks, promising that the new deal would include fair wages, education programs for workers' children, and support for local communities. Maya's translation had not only closed the deal, it had changed lives. Maya sat back in her chair, reflecting. She had been just a quiet assistant, overlooked and underestimated. Yet in a single moment, she had found the courage to act with honesty and compassion. And in doing so, she had reminded everyone that integrity isn't about titles or power, it's about humanity. Later that week, the director called a meeting. Expecting reprimand or criticism, Maya braced herself. Instead, he surprised everyone. "Because of Maya, we've secured not just a deal, but a legacy," he admitted, his tone grudgingly sincere. "She reminded us that profit without compassion is hollow." Effective immediately, she will lead the new international communications team. The room erupted in applause, but Maya barely noticed. She was thinking about the families across the ocean who would now have food on their tables and children in school. She realized her actions had created a ripple, spreading far beyond the boardroom. That evening, she called her grandmother. "I did it," she whispered. Her grandmother chuckled warmly over the line. "You've always had it in you. You just needed to listen to your heart." Maya smiled, feeling a quiet pride. One small act of courage, one choice to honor truth and kindness, had turned a simple translation into a lifeline for many. And in that moment, she understood, True impact isn't measured by salary or titles, but by the lives we touch.